be lucky, lucky, lucky. And wisdom said, nope, nope, nope. It's not luck. It's wisdom. That's it. No, no, no. What you need is luck, luck, luck. You sound like a chicken. Luck, luck, luck. No, wisdom. They've been having the same argument for 1,000 years. It had not been settled ever. But this time something happened. This time they looked down from this mountain into the valley, and there in the valley was a tiny little house. But it was so broken down that without a corrugated roof that was leaking, it was tilting, it was about to fall over. It was like a hovel. You wouldn't even call it a hovel though. You know what, if this was in Berkeley where I lived, you'd call it a fixer-upper, and it'd be like 1.3 million. It was like that kind of a thing. So there it was, and they said, let's have a contest. Because at that moment, in that house, hovel, hut, fixer-upper, a baby was being born. They said, we'll do an experiment. We'll give that baby luck or wisdom and see how it goes. Good idea, an experiment. That's right. And then when it comes time, we'll switch places. Sounds good as well. But who goes first? Luck said, I know. Let's flip a coin. Winner gets to choose who goes first. Who won the coin toss? Luck. You can be as wise as Sylvia and still not guess heads or tails. You can be happy with, well, I wanted heads, I got tails. But you can't guess. No, luck got to win, but that meant luck got to decide who went first, whether that baby would have luck or wisdom. And that baby was a little boy, and that baby was born with eyes wide open. He looked at the world in wonder. He took in everything he saw. And when he spoke, the first word he said was, why? This child was born wise. Not lucky. Luck had let wisdom go first to see how wisdom would do. This child was born wise. And who is wise? The one who learns from everyone they meet. Well, this child watched his father, who was a wood carver. And when his father put down the knife in the wood, he picked it up, and he was able to carve just by watching. He became a skilled wood carver by watching. His mother was a seamstress, and as she would sew, she put down the cloth, the fabric. He picked it up. He could sew just by watching. He learned. He went to school in the village, and he learned everything the teacher taught, and he learned how to teach, not because he was lucky, because he was
wise.
He was wise. Now, it so happened there was a king who heard of his wisdom and said, there's a young man in my kingdom who is a woodcarver, a tailor, a teacher. Bring him to the palace. I'll hire him to work here. Salary of 3, benefits for 1. It's a deal. You're a woodcarver, carve me into the throne. You're a seamstress, you can sew, make me a gown. You're a teacher, teach here in the palace, everybody, everything. He was doing very well, not because he was lucky, but because he was wise. Now, we'll come back to him in a minute. That princess, the king had a daughter, the princess, and she was
Lucky.
She wasn't lucky, no. She was
beautiful.
You're going to objectify? Yes, she was beautiful, but that's not what's interesting about her. She was
wise.
She wasn't wise, not exactly. She was smart.
Oh.
What's the difference between smart and wise? Anybody know?
Lucky.
Lucky? No, lucky is a whole different thing. Huh? The difference between smart and wise is this. They say a smart person knows how to get out of a difficult situation that a wise person knows how to avoid in the first place. Or it's easy to be wise, just think of something smart, but don't necessarily say it. Or a smart person knows that a tomato is not a vegetable, but a fruit. A wise person knows you don't put it in a fruit salad. She was smart. And smart was kind of a problem in this particular kingdom because the king, her father, was not smart. I don't know where the queen was, but the king was not the brightest bulb in the socket, or he was not the sharpest tool in the shed. He was a few fries short of a Happy Meal. I could go on and on about the king. He was always doing foolish things. His daughter was always correcting him. One day he called her in and said, I've decided you should get married. Oh, you have? And who should I marry? I said you should marry the prince in the kingdom over here. That would be Prince Blah Blah. Daddy could marry Prince Blah Blah. Why? He's very handsome. He's boring. He's self-absorbed. He's coming to dinner tonight. I'm sure you will love him. Who came to dinner that night? Prince Blah Blah. Who talked about the only thing he knew and cared about, which just happened to be
Himself.
Prince blah blah. Join me if you know the type. Ready? Blah 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 blah. She fell asleep in her soup. Dad, I'm not marrying blah blah. That's okay. The next night, who came over? But Prince Duh. Talked about the only thing he knew cared about, which was himself. Join me. Duh, 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 duh. She did not like Prince Duh. Next night was Prince Nurkanur. Nurkanur, 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 Nurkanur. She didn't like any of them. She did not like Prince Blah Blah, Duh, Nurkanur, finger up his nose, what's his name, thingamajig. She hated all of them. And her father finally said, time to choose. Which one? Blah, blah, duh, Nurkanur, what's his name, finger up. She said, Dad, I'm not going to marry any of these princes because I can't talk to them. You can talk to blah, blah. Yeah, if I want to talk about blah, 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 blah. Her father, who was king after all, said, too bad, you got to choose. She said, no, I'm not going. And some, you may have noticed, smart and stubborn sometimes go together. Have you ever seen this? Well, she said, Daddy, I'm not going to marry any of these princes. And what's more, until I find someone I do want to marry, I am not going to say another word. What do you mean? You want to talk about this? Like I said, the king was not too bright. So let me get this straight. You're not going to talk until you find somebody who you're willing to marry. So if someone can make you talk, you'll marry them, right? Very well. Bring back the princes. The princess came, blah, 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 da, da, da. She sat there, silent as could be, didn't say a word. That's okay, we'll open it up to the whole kingdom. You know how these contests go. They open up the kingdom. People came in lines, tried to make her talk. Nobody could do it. When they failed, they tried again. King said, not fair, you get one chance. If you make her talk, you can marry her. If not, we chop off your head. The line got shorter and the people got shorter with their heads cut off. Finally, the princess was quite happy being single. Finally, the line disappeared. Now the young man who had watched and learned very closely went to the king and said, Your Highness, I would like to make your daughter talk. Don't try. Because you're my woodcarver, tailor, and teacher. If I have to chop off your head, I have to hire 3 people to replace you. He said, but I'm not going to fail. He wasn't going to fail because he had a plan, because he was
Wise.
King said, your choice, kid. He walked into the princess's room. Outside stood the guard with an axe and said, don't go in there. She is very stubborn. She's not going to talk no matter what. He said, but I have a plan. He did have a plan because he was
Wise.
Your choice, kid. Good luck. He walked past the guard, didn't even look at the princess. There was a pair of gold candlesticks. He said, candlesticks, I got to tell you a story. Princess didn't say anything. Candlesticks didn't talk because these aren't talking candlesticks. I got to tell you a story. Here's what happened. 3 friends went camping. A woodcarver, a tailor, and a teacher. They took turns watching the fire. While they watched the fire, the woodcarver realized he was sitting on a big log. He thought, well, there's a log. I will carve this log. Well, he was a skilled woodcarver. This log took the shape of a beautiful, beautiful woman. Magnificent. And then he woke the tailor. The tailor looked and said, well, this woodcarver's made this beautiful woman out of wood. I'm a tailor. I'll make her a gown. He made her not just any gown, but a wedding gown, and stood her up, dressed there, as beautiful as could be. And then said, it's your turn to the teacher. The teacher looked and said, wow, the woodcarver's made this woman out of wood. The tailor's made this gown. I am a teacher, so I will teach her. Well, he was a good teacher, Candlestick. Not the kind of teacher who just gives information, but who makes you want to know more, who builds a curiosity inside you. And the way he taught built so much curiosity inside her that she couldn't stand it. And finally, she asked a question. As she asked the question, she came to life, and she was a real woman. Now, Candlesticks, this is the interesting part, because you see, when the woodcarver and the tailor woke up, what did they see but the teacher talking to a real live woman? And all 3 wanted to marry her. The woodcarver said, I should get to marry her because I carved her out of wood. The tailor said, I made that beautiful gown. It should be my wedding. The teacher said, but you see, I made her speak. So it's up to you, Candlesticks. Which one? Woodcarver, tailor, teacher. The candlestick said nothing, but the princess said, well, I think it's obvious. The answer that you're looking for is probably the teacher, but in fact, I think it should really be... That's right. The one that made her talk. That is me. That is you. See you at the wedding under a chuppah. And as he danced out of the room, the guard grabbed him, Said, nice try, kid. I warned you. Brought him out to the chopping stone, which is right there in the center of the palace. Well, you have this look on your face of concern. You heard the princess speak, right? You know, it was not your job to hear the princess speak. It was the guard's job. And as luck would have it, the guard had been out late the night before at a party and stayed up very late. He didn't sleep so well. So during the story, he fell asleep. Remember, this was a kid with wisdom,
but no luck.
but no luck. And so as the axe came down, rushing toward his head, high up on the mountain, Luck turned to wisdom, said, told you. Well, I can see your point. You don't have to look at my point. Look at the point on the blade of the axe and it chops it. I can see that point too. But tell me, Luck, what did you do? It's my turn? Go ahead. With that, Luck waved his hand and said, never underestimate the power of sheer dumb luck. As luck would have it, a flock of birds flew over the palace. As luck would have it, one of them broke off. It was the most interesting colored bird. It had red wings, which looked sort of yellow in a particular light, and then it had a blue head, and then purple feet. But as luck would have it, the princess was combing her hair, and there was a knot that pulled it, so the eye caught the bird flying right across. She looked at the bird. She saw the young man about to have his head chopped off, and she said, "Stop! I will marry him." The blade stopped that far from his neck. And aside from a little post-traumatic stress disorder, which one would expect, the two lived quite happily ever after, and that is how it is with luck and wisdom. You can't really separate them, but when you wish for one, you wish for luck. You wish for luck because you gain and grow wisdom. You come to Wisdom Keepers Week, you learn wisdom of all kinds, and then you wish for the one you can't control. That is why if you go to a Jewish event, like a baby naming, or a bris, or a bar mitzvah, or a wedding, when the groom stamps on the glass, everybody shouts the words, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov doesn't mean congratulations. Mazel means star, Tov means good, it means good stars. May you be guided by good stars. And so this one had a right answer, which you had, which is luck. But that said, my favorite answer I've ever gotten was from like a 9-year-old girl. And I said, so what did you choose, luck or wisdom? She said, I choose wisdom. I said, okay, tell me why. She said, I think I'm already lucky. And I thought, wow, that girl is wise. And I think we are so lucky to be here at this place. And just there's nothing except gratitude, I think, that we can really take with us from here. So I feel lucky to have had a chance to share stories with you. If you like them, as you heard, pass them on. Tell them to other people. I have a note